Spurs fans, despite our Spurs being pretty bad the last 5 years, they're still the best team in the NBA since the year 2000. In the year 2000.
Go, Spurs, go, 'cause the Giants stay.
What is up, San Antonio Spurs fans? TGIF, welcome to TSR Sports. Caught this article from SB Nation this morning. I was like, I gotta share this because there's some stats on here. I was like, wow, let's get into it. The San Antonio Spurs did a lot of losing to get Victor Wembanyama. Yes, we did. After the Spurs dynasty collapsed following the Kawhi Leonard trade in 2018, speaking of collapsing, that dude can't stay healthy. San Antonio consistently traded their top players at the peak of their value so they wouldn't get caught on the treadmill of mediocrity. The Spurs traded Derek White to the Celtics. Hindsight not looking good on that one, by the way. A NBA champion, just got a huge contract, but he wasn't healthy with us. So at the time, it seemed like the right thing to do. DeJounte Murray to the Atlanta Hawks, boy, was that the right thing to do. Knucklehead can't keep his mouth shut on Twitter. And DeMar DeRozan to the Chicago Bulls as they hunted for a new franchise star. Their foresight was eventually rewarded, with some luck, in the 2000 NBA Draft Lottery by winning the rights to Victor Wembanyama. Our Spurs haven't been good in a long time. Here are the San Antonio Spurs win totals over the last 5 seasons, starting in 2019 to 20. 32, 33, 34, 22, and 22. Consistency. The Spurs have the second worst record in the NBA over that 5-season time span with 143 wins. Only the Detroit Pistons with 94 have been worse. What's remarkable is that despite being so bad in the last 5 seasons, the Spurs still have more wins than any NBA franchise since 2000. And there's a graph here that I saw a blip of this last night on maybe Facebook. Then I caught the article this morning. I was like, this is nuts. I got to share this. So here are our Spurs since the year 2000 with 1,225 wins and 706 losses. That's a winning percentage of 63%. That's remarkable when you consider just how bad we've been the last 5 seasons and with 2 seasons of back-to-back 22 wins. When you look who's behind us, the Dallas Mavericks, who are just in the NBA Finals, are the closest. They're 72 wins behind us. The Celtics, the current NBA champions, are 118 wins behind us. As we scroll down a bit, the Lakers, who have the most championships in the 2000s, don't they? They are 182 wins behind us. So that's a 182 one. And then number 10, the Phoenix Suns, they are 218 wins behind us. This is just, it just tells you how freaking good that run was with, well, since it started in 2000, the Twin Towers, Robinson and Duncan, and then when it transitioned to the big 3, Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker. That's how freaking dominant they were. If the Western Conference wasn't so good and the Lakers were so good and who knows how many championships they could have had, but there was a lot of competition in the West. The Mavericks, of course, with Dirk Nowitzki, so I definitely want to emphasize this right here. Don't let anyone tell you the Spurs weren't a dynasty just because they never won back-to-back titles. Can I get an amen? Because I agree with that 100%. The Spurs won 5 championships behind Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich in 99, 03, 05, 07, and 14. Only the Lakers have more titles over that time span with 6. During the dynasty years, the Spurs did an amazing job of constantly finding new talent to build around. As David Robinson aged, Duncan came in. Well, let's pause that. Duncan, there was a lot of luck there. Not luck that David Robinson was injured, but he only played 6 games in 96-97. I talked about it at length at this channel. The Spurs ended up being, I think, the 3rd worst team that year and hit the lottery and got the number 1 overall pick. And we're very lucky to get Tim Duncan, but we got Tim Duncan. Then, obviously, we had good analysis, good scouting, if you will, to have the wherewithal to draft Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili when we did, and they were the perfect co-stars. And then making a trade for Kawhi Leonard was a brilliant move, as it turns out. It didn't last as long as we'd have liked it to, and maybe that was a good thing, since, seriously, I have nothing against the guy, but the fact, he might want to consider retirement. Pulling out of the Olympics to rest up to what? Play 40 or 50 games and miss the playoffs again? His body is just collapsing in front of us. You might want to start looking at your life after basketball, Kawhi, seriously. And Kawhi Leonard carried the torch until he demanded a trade. Wemby now carries a San Antonio Spurs legacy. and there's no better player in the NBA to build around. Thank you, SB Nation. The Spurs can be patient with Wemby because, not too patient. We don't want to wait 5 or 10 years before we start putting a championship team out there. Well, could be 5 years, but you get the gist. We don't want to wait forever until we put out a winning team. How's that? The Spurs can be patient with Wemby because the results speak for themselves. Even after a terrible last 5 years, our San Antonio Spurs are still the NBA's best since 2000. I really don't know what to add on there. I mean, I find that remarkable. Just looking at that, and I'm not shocked because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Spurs fans, the combination of Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili as a trio have the winning the highest win percentage in the NBA. If we're looking at 3 stars or 3 co-stars, whatever you want to look at it, a trio of players with, I'm sure, a certain minimum games. There's probably trios that have played 2 games that haven't lost the game. That doesn't count. But as far as I've actually put some time in, over 500 games, 1,000 games, whatever the qualifier is, it's got a lot, 500 games. I believe that's the winningest combination in the history of the NBA. I believe that might be the winningest combination in the history of sports, not just the NBA, of sports. That's incredible. And just, we all hate the losing. The back-to-back 22-win seasons, the 16-game losing streak a couple years ago that set a team record, the 18-game losing streak that set a team record last year. As a Spurs fan, it's tough because we're used to excellence. I became a Spurs fan in 1990, and all I've known personally, except for that 96-97 season prior to this recent losing, that was a losing season I knew, and I gave that a pass. It sucked, 96-97, but come on. David missed 76 games. Sean Elliott missed, I think, 43-ish. I believe Dominic Wilkins, who was past his prime at that point, was our leading scorer. It was not a good team. So I kind of take that losing season with a grain of salt. I'm like, all right, my guy didn't play. We sucked. Sure. And we got Duncan the next year. So then it really was like, okay, whatever. It worked out in the end. Fine. We're good. But the last 5 years have felt different because it's not like we had a player that was injured and not playing. We had guys. Now, we lost the guy with the Kawhi Leonard trade, but when you look at that first year after Kawhi, it's like, all right, DeRozan, Aldridge, Gay, Mills, plus we got some young bucks out there like Murray and White. We got something special cooking here in San Antonio. We've got some vets that can, play ball, but we got some young and up-and-comers that can play ball. And everybody I just mentioned is no longer on the team. So that's probably the biggest thing that's shocking. Not that they're not the team anymore. I think the Spurs made the right moves. I really think they made the right move with DeJounte Murray. Gosh darn, you heard me mention something about the Twitters. He made another comment. I don't want to go into too much about it. It's not a good look, and there's going to be there's a reason he's now been with 3 teams in 4 years, and I think you're going to see that trend continue where he's going to start to bounce around teams every 2 to 3 years. His attitude needs to change. We'll leave it at that. I wish him best of luck. I hope somebody sits him down and says, dude, this is immature. Anyway, moving right along. It's the 5 years of losing has been tough because of losing, but there hadn't been direction until Wemby. We bounced around. DeRozan was the guy. Then DeJounte was the guy. Then Keldon was the guy. That's not what we're used to as Spurs fans. We're used to David Robinson being the guy for almost a decade. The torch got passed to Timmy. Timmy was the guy for almost 2 decades. The torch got passed to Kawhi, and for his short time being the guy, he was obviously the guy. And then it just started getting gray. Was it DeRozan? Was it Aldridge when they first played together? I actually don't remember the first year they played together who was the number 1 option in the offense. But it was DeRozan moving forward at his second and third year. Then it was clearly DeJounte, clearly Keldon, and now it's clearly Wemby. But now the torch is not being passed anymore. It's not going to be bounced around. Wemby's got it, and he's going to hold it for the next 12, 15, however many years he plays, and I see him being a Spur for life. Now we're back to what feels Spursy. And this is why that losing felt different last year. Even though it sucked to go 22-60, I knew watching a team, we have something special, and we now have that guy. That guy we haven't had in, Kawhi was traded in 18. The guy we haven't had when we started last year. So 5 years. You know where I'm going with this. So it's now we have the guy, we have direction, and I'm so excited to be a Spurs fan, part of our Spurs community, to be a Spurs content creator. It's just so much fun covering the team. I've always enjoyed covering the team. Don't get me wrong. I've always loved our Spurs. But now I see a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm rambling. Hope you're having a great Friday. Drop a comment down below. Did these stats surprise you? Did you realize? You probably knew we were good, but did you realize we were just that much better than everybody else? And even despite the losing, we're still far ahead on the old win chart. Hit the thumbs up, support the channel. and subscribe to become part of our awesome Spurs community. Hope you have a great weekend. See you tomorrow night for the Spurs and somebody in the Summer League. Thank you, and as always, go Spurs, go.
Ready,